celluloid, and we're turning it into music and podcast for you.
Welcome everyone to another episode of We Came From Celluloid. I am Nicky P here as always with the man, the myth, the legend, the brains behind the operation, maybe the heart, maybe the loins, Mr. Brian Pritchard. How are we doing today? We got good, buddy.
Good, man. Good to see you. Good to be here. Good to be connecting with my authentic creative self, you know. It's been a whirlwind couple of weeks. But how are you? How are you this morning?
I am good. Obviously, I've been fairly inspired as far as things have gone this past couple weeks. I've need to be a little bit better about my some of my business side things, but I've been really motivated to learn and try and figure out what this is going to look like moving forward with the band, as far as like booking gigs, making the shows what I want the shows to be, branching out from like our current little network and building something broader out into like other states and whatnot. Not necessarily working on a full new tour, but getting ourselves out there a little bit more and dealing with grown up schedules and, and all the other crap going on in life. So it's been a bit of a challenge and a life experience, kind of throwing all that together.
You know, I have so much going on in terms of the professional shift that I'm making and the amount of time and attention that takes. And I've been looking for ways to connect, on the creative side, and some of that has just been as simple as going like, oh cool, like it's nice to have blocks of time, on the weekend or whatever to watch watch some movies, just do the relaxing things that I like, that again, as I was saying up front, even something like this, that things that have been part of my routine, that anchor me as a person. If anything, I've just been trying to hold on to and maintain more so than even worrying that much about. Like, all that to say, I don't know that I've made any progress to speak of as it relates to our world. You know what I mean? More so just trying to stay in front of people, keep practices going. We've obviously, made some progress with some shows. The show we booked in Geneva on the Lake, I'm excited about. That just sort of popped up organically through a Facebook post and stuff like that. But yeah, I think what happens for me is that the more routine my professional world starts to become, that needs to happen before the bandwidth, I guess, in my brain frees up to feel like I'm building as much as I historically have and always want to. But yeah, there's just fragility, I guess, in my world at the moment, trying to get my business, income driving of my world shored up.
Well, I kind of took that as a given, especially knowing people don't pay attention, I think, enough to like how like what might be a little change. What feel like a little change can be a wild shift. Like like in your instance, like you're not necessarily working a ton more hours, I don't think, than you would say it would be normal, but the shift that everything's kind of later in the day for you really pushes out like a normal habit for you to be, hey, it's the evening, let's go to a movie, and you're by the time movies are kind of your work schedule right now has kind of made that not an option necessarily, unless you're catching the late show. So it's like things that would normally just be, let's go do this, the obvious choice for you, just kind of, not there. As far as like you working on the your income stuff, um, yeah, no, I kind of figured it went without saying that like right now my duty was to kind of be the driving force in all this because you can't be. And so I'm kind of working on the things that I can be. This isn't necessarily always the musical side of it. A lot of what I've actually been doing is a lot of research on trying to find bands out of town to kind of partner with, finding venues. One of the things I've been working on is trying to find the ways in which we can synergistically utilize the fact that we have a podcast and like a movie themed brand with the band. And that's to me, like, like trying to find different cons and things to go to that may or may not, line up with different with shows and stuff. Like, as a for instance, I don't know, do you know anything about the Oddmall? Oddmall is like I think once a month they get together, and it's not necessarily con, it's like a big mall slash festival of weird, like kind of kooky stuff. Usually kind of centered around art and gaming and things like that. Definitely the kind of scene that we should probably at least get to a couple of them a year, even if it's just to walk around and hand out stickers or something would be valuable to us. Um, One of the places that they do set up is with something called Con on the Cob, which is a convention in Richfield, which is obviously like between us and Akron, so super close. And it happens to fall in a week, like a week where is really, really difficult to get booked for bands, and particularly us. Um, One of the other things I've been doing is, looking at like what weekends are worth booking historically, things like that. Like, is it worth taking this time to go try and play a show? And if we're gonna do it, what kind of show should it be? Should it be local? Should we try and get out? Most of December they basically said don't bother trying to go out because no one's gonna go to shows. Certainly not for an out of town band. Like, yeah, that makes sense. So if I were to try and book that, like it's trying to get us, I guess, into one of the three regions of Cleveland. We played the west side, we played like the south side. We don't get up into the east side much. So what's what nut we got to crack? I don't know if it's the Beachland or Tree Lawn or what, but I want to get us up there somewhere. It's got to find, I guess, the right opportunity.
Yeah, and I keep coming back to, and I know we've touched on it here and off mic as well. The minimum viable product. That's a business jargony kind of term where you're talking about, it's right there in the name, I suppose. It's like what is not what perfect looks like, but the minimum viable version of a thing that you can put out there and feel comfortable with. And you and I have talked about but aren't currently quite at a point. Like, if we wanted to say, hey, this Friday you and me are going to do an acoustic duo, even not having rehearsed together, if we had like a 30-minute set and you and I talked through, okay, we're going to do New Soul, this, that, and the other. I mean, the idea that, again, you can play foundational sort of like root note acoustic stuff, and that helps you sing, and I could spice that up. It would be nice to have a rehearsal or two, but even
I'm ready whenever you are. You're the one that kind of drags your feet on that one.
I hear you. No. I'm just saying, thinking out loud that like, um, there is probably a minimum viable product version of the act that exists just as a duo, and
There's a couple places in mind that I'd like to play that would probably be the best option for us, just because like they're like weekday gigs, and I know how hard it is to get any of our other guys onto weekday gigs. And they're places, they're not huge places either, where like we could jump on a show as an acoustic duo would be a pretty easy deal. And I have enough connections, I could probably get that to happen pretty quickly.
Well, I was thinking about even some of the convention type stuff and going like, is that a viable option? Like, can you sit there and have your vendor table be performance based? You know what I mean? Or do they sit there and go like, no, that's fucking noisy. You can't do that. Like,
I think for the record, I did actually look up um, tables at Con on the Cob. I wasn't sure if that was gonna be. I want to say they're like $75 for a table up there.
well, it's funny because even with like the crumble cookie stuff that I did, over the last couple of years, um, you see people at these different craft show type events. Then again, like that's certainly the people who are coming through those as buyers aren't necessarily people who are ever going to go see us play live. But the convention events that you're talking about would be the attendees of those events. Um, and the fellow vendors both overlapping as like a networking group, worth pursuing is kind of intriguing, but I'd rather have an opportunity to perform, if possible. That would be cool.
Oh, well, hey, if we're sitting at our table, I don't know who can stop us necessarily from. I mean, maybe it wouldn't be like
With a PA, no, we probably couldn't bring a full PA system, but you're right. The idea that it would be almost like busking, but in a contained indoor environment, it's like, why the hell not?
if we choose to sit there and sing and play acoustic guitars at our spot while people are walking by, that's kind of up to us, isn't it?
Think so. I mean, I tend to almost overthink politeness stuff sometimes, but you depending who your neighbors are, it's like does it inhibit their ability to conduct their business would be the only thing in my mind, is not wanting to be a dick about it. But
Well, and I'm even envisioning it's like nothing's saying that we even have to play like full songs. It could just be us, like, hey, spontaneously busting out a chorus or a verse or something to draw somebody in as they walk past.
yeah, no, it's intriguing, or like I've certainly liked the idea. It would be a little intense in that particular environment, but I've thought about like in a Patreon type setting, certainly that it would be cool to take requests, that to have it would be cool to be at a point like I'm part of the Vola fan club. I'm part of the fan club for a couple different podcasts where they'll have like a bronze, silver, gold kind of tiers, right? And it would be cool to have like a level of engagement and audience that would have people, again, like suggesting movies. I like the writing exercise of having that prompt. And I remember going to an improv comedy show with my dad where I was first exposed to that idea of like performers coming out on stage and turning to the crowd and welcoming suggestions from an audience to be like, come on, we'll riff on any topic. What do you got?
Now that I think about it, if you've never actually seen me do an acoustic show, have you?
Sure. I've come to see you perform acoustic by yourself before for a couple hours. There was some event where your family was there. I brought my family. I have, yes, yeah.
I mean, that's typically how my standard acoustic show works. Is it's hey, what do you want to hear, folks, and just throw them at. We'll see what sticks.
Well, and again, I don't even mean existing songs. In the way that like I'll see people post and be like, "Hey, I need a last minute, act for my retirement party, grad party, wedding, whatever it is." And I'm thinking like, okay, from a minimum viable product perspective, yes, I can come perform and be a talented musician and razzle dazzle, but it's like that's not what they want. You know what I mean? They want you coming and going like I'm a jukebox full of material and can perform that material. But yeah, selfishly in a movie themed engagement like that, it would be interesting to have somebody go like, okay, give me a song about Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. And like, but like, I would need a few minutes. That's the only thing is being like, okay, come back in fucking 20 minutes and I'll be ready. Fuck off for a minute. Go round up some people. I'm going to write the Season of the Witch song. You come back in 20 minutes. I don't know.
Well, you're thinking about you're thinking about this just you, buddy. You got me there. I could keep somebody talking for 20 minutes until you actually get the song ready. A whole time pulling ideas from them on what it could be.
I know, but you would have to learn the song to be able to perform it, so you can't be doing other shit. Although then suddenly we're closed off from all engagement.
We would learn the song. I don't know half the songs we play when I play them on stage.
We'll have to pull the curtain down. We'll have to bring a whole fucking like one of those army tents so that like when we want to engage with people we can, and then when it's writing time, we pull the curtain until until it's ready, until the meal has been ready to serve, you know.
Well, there's that. We also have other options. It's like we could have like three or four kind of pieces ready at any given time, and then just kind of take the concept at the time and then throw it to one of the ideas.
That's interesting.
Which also could be a good way to kind of like audition what ideas really work with the song.
Uh-huh.
Maybe we keep the song in our back pocket like that until we come across like the right topic that we can just that immediately just sells when we're doing it. Like that's the lyrics that really sing.
That's true.
And well, that's how we know that's the one. I mean, to that matter, you've got probably at least fucking 10 songs that I know of I've heard from you that we don't aren't actual songs yet that don't have anything to them. You start getting into Whimsy and Pats and it's all kinds of stuff.
Whether it was for our long tour road trip or just like a family, any block of time where I know I'm going to be in the car, I'll think about like music playlists or podcasts or like other ways to, how am I going to entertain everybody? But I'd organized a list that I thought maybe I could sneak in at some point, but never found my window that it felt appropriate. Anyway, I have gone through a lot of my voice memos and flagged things, one sort of terrifying moment recently, in a good way, terrifying, that's a strong word, but Lindsay went through her voice memos and had something in there that she played for me that I was going like, that's obviously me, like obviously unmistakably me and my writing, but I have zero recollection of it. You know what I mean? And like it must have ended up on her phone because mine was out of battery or like whatever at the moment that like the idea was striking. But yeah, it was weird. Like there are a lot of foundational things just waiting for like a little breath of life. You know what I mean? And they could be golden. So it's always kind of curious what stuff like forces its way to the surface. I'd like to think a lot of times it is based on some sense of like quality that is insisting on itself, but sometimes it's just kind of a fluke of timing. And there have been times where I've cranked out a bunch of material so fast that like it just didn't make sense to be like, okay, we're gonna learn all 10 of these songs right now. But like as a result, yeah, some stuff just like sits in limbo. And the older I get, the more I wonder about, or I have that certainly as a goal of going, I'd like to get everything officially like documented, even if it is in like acoustic form and released. That's been part of the fun of the acoustic albums I've put out with Brian. Some of that stuff turned into songs. Some of it is still only exists in acoustic form, but at least it's out there.
Absolutely. As far as like what comes to pass, it's like there's always a certain amount of like some stuff will just immediately click with me, and then there's kind of like a natural progression of well, hey, this is already more fully formed than something else, so we just kind of push it. But then there are the songs where it's like Labor Day has always been one that kind of that one was just a force of Brian's will to make happen because for the longest time, like, I just don't know what to do with this song, man. I don't know what you want me to do with it. Um, and for those who don't know, that is what became As Long as the Snow Falls, which did turn out to be a very good song. I think we ended up lining up on some good melodies, but it took a lot of kind of. I think for me, there was so much going on in the guitar work that I always just I didn't want to muddle anything up and get in there, and so I kind of just I'm gonna say I was afraid to get in there, but it's like I just didn't want to fuck anything up, and I liked the way it sounded, so I kind of do my best to stay out of it. And it kind of took Brian stepping in, and not to say that all Brian's melodies stuck around throughout the whole thing, but like he kind of forced a way in where I could start conceiving of the song differently and see it for more than just an instrumental piece. So it's sometimes it's just different ways that songs kind of happen. Right now, there's certainly a different construction going on with what I'm calling Bodhi for the moment, and just 'cause that song was something you played at practice, and I liked it. I want to work on it. It's gonna sound very different than anything we've done ultimately, because to me, well, it's funny because when I heard it, I'm hearing Pixies, and then I get something very different from you, like in the actual recordings that you and Max did, and so I'm kind of like going back and trying to find the little magic that I found, and some things that I wanted to do to it. I'm putting those in there, and so I haven't had a chance to lay the guitar stuff or guitar section that I want to be in there yet. But it's just it's been a very different creative process than anything else we've had. 'Cause it's been kind of a work of you and me more than anything than talking to the other guitar players in the band. It's like there's structural stuff that like is going to be different that I want, but I think it's going to be very very fun and very different to play than a lot of the other stuff because you know I don't write like the other guys write, and the song itself kind of just started from a different place.
Yeah, I'm trying to even remember which song, which melodies, riffs and stuff like that you're thinking of, because I thought the song that you'd mentioned as having a Pixies vibe almost was the Heartbreaker song I'd written for Max's wedding, but that's not the Point Break song, is it? Yeah, what's the Point Break song?
Bodhi.
Damn it. Well, that doesn't tell me which.
Bodhi, you remember the main character of Point Break?
No, I know that. I know that, but I'm saying which melodies of mine are you thinking of attached to a Point Break song? That's the part that I'm actually forgetting.
You don't remember recording it and sending it to me with Max?
I've recorded a lot of shit. I'm like, which one is he thinking of?
Yeah, no, he recorded some electronic drums in there and everything.
Well, there was a really heavy one that I recorded with Max with electronic drums, but I'm trying to remember which one is Point Break to you. Because there's the War Drums song, that I've been messing with. But yeah, it's okay. It's that's I'm sure I know the song. I just don't remember which one you're talking about.
I don't know. Well, maybe I'm mistaking something, thinking it was something else, but it was either way.
See, because I remember our conversation about that beach moment and him throwing his badge away and stuff like that. But like, yeah, as far as like what riffs does that go with? That's how disconnected I am, sir.
Well, and the thing is, it wasn't even so for me. It wasn't so much a riff; it was you actually playing chords for a change. It was you were doing something different. I think ultimately you gave me riffs when you like laid it down because that's how your brain goes. It's like, oh, let me add the counter melodies and all that stuff to it.
Well, I'll have to revisit that. Are we trying to talk to our friends in Master Hand?
We're gonna end right now, folks, because we actually have a recording with the guys from Master Hand that we're gonna be doing as a special episode before this coming show. But thank you all for watching and hanging out with us this week. Peace.
And we're turning it into music and podcast for you.